Hello students, so let us learn how to open a file to handle it, that is to read or write or append data. Let us see the two methods by which you can open a file. Okay, so if you want to open a file through Python, you have to write a code for that which has a method called open. There are two ways to open a file. The first syntax is declare a file object like a variable, declare an object equal to open. Which file you need to open, give that file name along with the path, comma, what mode are you going to open it. The mode stands for what operation you're going to do with that file. Are you going to read the contents of the file, write the contents, or append some contents to the existing file? So we have different file access modes. We'll see that. So the syntax says the file object, say for example file1 equal to open the name of the file, file1.txt, comma R stands for read mode. Now this is there no need to mention the path of the file if the file exists in the same path as the Python program. If you save the Python program in D drive Python folder, then this file1.txt will also be searched in the same folder. Suppose your Python program is in a different folder, your file1.txt is in a different folder, then you have to give the full path, the entire path. C:/temp/file1.txt, desktop, users, whatever path you need to mention that. Now, when you mention a slash, remember escape sequence requires a slash. So /t will be considered as tab space in Python. So in order to avoid that, because you should definitely give the slash for file path. In that case, if Python should not confuse it with escape sequence, you should give double slash. So you will get in MCQs, is this a correct syntax? This is a correct syntax, which is wrong? In that case, identify this as correct one. Double slash stands for single slash. Or if you want to retain the single slash itself, but you don't want Python to confuse that with escape sequence, you need to include a small r before this path. So before the opening code, give r. R stands for raw string. Raw string means don't take any meaning inside my string. That is what you're conveying to Python. Okay. The second method to open a file is with open. With open is the keyword. With open and within bracket you have to give the file name, comma, access mode as the file handle. Here you give file handle equal to. Here you give with open file name as file handle. Okay. So what is the difference between this and this? When you open a file object in this syntax, after working with the file, you need to close that file. You have to write a syntax for that. When you use the second method with open, below this the program should be written with indentation. A block of code is given with an indentation. Once that block of code gets over, Python will automatically close that file. You need not give close syntax at all. That is the difference between these two. Otherwise, both will work as the same. So here is an example. With open C:/temp/file1.txt, comma R as file1. This is the file object. Now when I say file object or file handle, both means the same. What do you mean by a file object or a handle? The file object is used to read or write data to a file. It is like a cursor. When you open a text file, when you open Notepad, you can see the cursor blinking. What does the cursor do? When you start typing, the cursor moves. When you take the cursor and place it somewhere and start typing, what happens? It inserts data in that place. So the file handle or the file object is a cursor. Wherever it is placed, it does the reading or writing operation from that place. Okay. And I already told you the file access mode tells the operation that is needed to be performed in this file, whether it is reading or writing or appending. Let us see what are the different file operation modes, file opening modes. You have three simple modes called R, W, A. R for read, W for write, and A for append. Now in these three modes, you can do only that particular operation. If you open some file in R mode, you can only read the contents. If you open in W mode, you can only write the contents, do nothing else. If you open A in A mode, you can only append the data, but you cannot see what is there already inside. You cannot read anything, right? Now, suppose you try to open a file. That file does not exist. What will happen when you do that in R mode? An error will be raised saying that there is no such file. No file exists in that. Suppose you open a file which is not existing in W mode, Python will automatically create a new file in that name. If you try to open a file which does not exist in A mode, here also a new file is created. Suppose the file exists, what will happen? In R mode, no problem, the cursor will be ready to read. In W mode, if the file already exists, the existing data will be erased or truncated or overwritten. Everything will be cancelled and the cursor will go to the beginning of the file. So you have to be very careful while opening in write-only mode. In append data, the cursor goes to the end of the data. What do you mean by appending? Adding to the existing data, right? So where is the cursor placed? In R and W, the cursor is placed at the beginning of the file when you open a file. In append, the cursor is placed at the end of the file when the file is opened. Okay. Now you have R plus, W plus, A plus. So this R plus mode is used to read the contents of the file as well as write the contents of the file. What is the meaning? When you open a file in R plus mode, the cursor is placed at the beginning of the file so that you can finish reading the contents, and then if you want you can write some more contents. Okay, and it raises an error if the file does not exist. So you can do both reading and writing. The cursor is placed at the beginning. Why? Because first preference is given to reading, R plus. What about W plus? W plus is first ready to write. So what will happen if there are existing contents? Everything will be erased and cursor will be placed at the beginning. Now after writing the contents, you can now read and check what happens. So in W plus mode, you can write as well as read. But existing data will get erased first and then it will start writing. And cursor is placed at the beginning of the file. Okay. In A plus mode, you can read, you can write, you can append. But first, when the file is opened, the cursor is placed at the end of the file in order to append. Okay. So, hope you understood all this. Now, did you see this binary file opening mode? We'll look what it is when we come on to binary file reading and writing. Okay. Now, we have opened the file. After you do all the processing, it is very, very important to close a file. If you don't close a file, the changes that are in the buffer, it may not be saved inside the file. And when you close a file, that function will delete all the buffer. What is a buffer? It is a temporary storage area. So once you close the file, the buffer is released and the system memory that was allotted for that file is also free. So it is very important to close the file. But this close is not specifically needed for with open syntax because Python will close on its own. Right? So this is all about file opening modes, opening a file and closing a file.